In this conversation, we will discuss Lovergirl's performance on the charts, as well as what this means for her relationship with Rock Nation and how. So, hotties, make sure you stay with me to the end of this video for the full conversation. And of course, I need your feedback, comments, questions, and concerns in the comments. But please keep it cute. So, Lover Girl by Megan Thee Stallion went number one on US iTunes. Very good accomplishment, very basic. It even entered the top 10 of US Apple Music. So the top 10 at number nine, the top 10 most streamed songs like at the time on that platform. Shout out to the Apple Music hotties because you know that we do get a lot of data from Spotify. But speaking of Spotify, on its first day, Lover Girl earned 673,509 streams. Do you guys think that this is good? Because Megan Thee Stallion hadn't released for a while. The song ended up debuting in the top 40 at number 38 on the Hot 100. So before we talk about how Rock Nation made a chess move with this Megan Thee Stallion release, let's talk about how Megan's relationship with Rock Nation has evolved over time. We know that Megan Thee Stallion was originally signed to 1501. She signed to Rock Nation for management around 2019 as she was blowing up in the industry, which you can say has been one of her best business moves yet, because that's why she is where she is today, why her celebrity caliber is still so high, and she is a household name, even if her music is not good or it's not, people aren't really feeling it in terms of hip hop. So, after one of the most contentious legal battles between an artist and a label, Megan Thee Stallion parted ways with 1501 and signed a global distribution agreement with Warner Music Group in the beginning of 2024. However, it seems that that deal has expired and she is now distributing via Rock Nation directly. Now, Rock Nation has always had a distribution arm of their company. They had a record label, but that has been dissolved into Rock Nation Distribution. So here we have an industry professional, Brian Ziosk from Audiomat, stating that Megan Thee Stallion released her new song Lover Girl independently through her own Hot Girl Productions via Rock Nation Distribution, not Warner. That's when I was like, oh, we got to talk about this. And yes, if you operate outside the major system, own your masters, control your creative, and release date, you're indie. Now he makes the statement because, especially ever since Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj's beef came to a head in January of 2024, where Nicki challenged the fact that Megan was an independent artist because it was a big marketing point for her in terms of the conversation around her as the first female rapper ever to own her masters in her contemporary career. So, another industry professional who actually works for a major label, I'm not going to tell you guys which one, but is someone that I've been following for years. So, when I saw his comment, I was like, oh, I need that. So, he said, is she signed to Rock Nation Distro or just managed by Rock? Her last album said the same thing, but went through the Warner system, right? And I was so glad to find this comment because that's exactly what I was thinking. So Brian says currently both. This release came outside of Warner. So as we know, Megan Thee Stallion is managed by Rock Nation, but she's also distributed by Rock Nation. So I had another question where I said, I'm doing some research because I was preparing for this video. Can you explain why she's not with Warner anymore? Like, was it a 1 year or a one album agreement? And what do you think about her marketing? Because it's giving the major label treatment. It's impressive, but I'm just wondering how, especially since she's indie. So, one of the statements that I agree with, which Brian said, is if you operate outside of the major system, own your masters, control your creative and release date, you are indie. Now, there are several levels to being an independent artist. Megan is not the first, won't be the last, but she might be the biggest. Because even though Megan is quote unquote independent, she is still receiving a major push, a major marketing push from Rock Nation, which is why we see her on all these shows. Her social media marketing, it's great, it's impressive. Everyone's social media marketing should be. But If Megan Thee Stallion was a really, really indie artist without any major label support, we wouldn't see her as much as we do, which was the primary reason for my question to Brian. So I hope he gets back to me at some point because I really want to know if she signed the Warner distribution agreement in 2024, it's 2025. Was it only for 1 year or one album? That is super interesting. So let's keep digging because I got more to show you. Someone responded to Brian from AudioMac, right? And she says, well, she obviously doesn't control her release date. Warner's publishing arm, Warner Chappell Music, administers Roc Nation's music publishing catalog through a worldwide administration deal. So that was news to me, honestly. But now that I'm reading it for the second time and I'm recording, I can still make a distinction here. So obviously, she doesn't control her release date. That may be true and not true. Now, this could be true. Warner's publishing arm, Warner Chappell Music, administers Roc Nation's music publishing catalog, right? But if you don't know music business terminology, then you might believe what you see people say the first time you read it. But you have to remember that distribution is different than publishing. Right? If Megan is saying that she owns her masters, I can believe that she probably owns her publishing or has some type of administration deal with a publisher and probably with Roc Nation and with Warner Chappell. Because once again, Warner Chappell is administering Roc Nation's publishing. But notice that this person did not say Warner is controlling Roc Nation's distribution. That is a distinction to be made. Once again, let me know if you guys have any questions. Other people who don't like Megan Thee Stallion, other fans, are responding and challenging what Brian is saying about Megan being independent. So this fan says, Roc Nation admitted in a court filing that they are 100% helping Megan with promotion, advertisement, and funding. She's not indie or independent. Stop this lying. So yes, you can get funding sources outside of the major label system, outside of signing a big advance. And honestly, a couple of days ago, I was listening to DJ Academics talk about his current dealings with Roc Nation and anything he thinks about them, especially with his involvement in Megan Thee Stallion's current lawsuit against Milagro Grams. And I heard Academics say that the amount of money that Roc Nation and Megan's team spends on their lawyers is really absurd for Megan being an independent artist. He alleges that Megan Thee Stallion is being funded by a hedge company. Now, to be honest with you, I don't know much about that, but I can believe it because it is quite interesting and questionable that they have unlimited funds to go against their opponents in court, especially for Megan Thee Stallion, where her name is huge, but her commercialism not so much. Yes, we all know her name, but her music does not perform to the same standard as that of her other female rap counterparts, even though she technically outsold Doja Cat's last album. Now, I'll link that video below if you didn't see that. Once again, I do encourage you guys to leave any comments, questions, or concerns because if you do, I'll definitely make another video on this subject just to answer the questions that you guys have because I do feel like this is important and you guys know how much I love talking about labels and music business stuff. So again, the idea that Megan Thee Stallion is now being distributed via Roc Nation is backed up by one of Megan's fan pages saying Lover Girl was released under Hot Girl Productions and distributed by Roc Nation Distribution. Roc Nation Distribution supports and empowers independent artists by providing them with tools and services to distribute their music globally while retaining ownership of their masters. And also, guys, you can be signed to a distribution company who doesn't only distribute your music, but if you are an artist with numbers and some notoriety, and once again, if you're signed to a distributor, that means that you are technically independent. And let's say I'm a nobody, but I have 1 million monthly listeners. My distributor is going to be open to giving me a marketing budget, maybe so much as 20,000, because I already have listenership, right? I already have a track record of people being interested in my music. So we're not marketing to anybody. And I'm not just a nobody out there because there are artists who are nobodies, who are with distributors, but they don't get marketing budgets because who are they selling to if they don't have an audience, if no one is listening to their music? So you can get funding from distributors, but you have to have some sort of fan base or track record of streams. So this person brought up a good point, and it might be a good point for another video. But Rock Nation has been promoting Megan heavily on their social media platforms, as they should. But it's so noticeable that this person says, quote unquote, independent artist, but gets promo and support from Beyonce, but gets more promo and support from Beyonce and Jay-Z than Chloe and Halle ever did. Mind you, Halle just released an album that sold about 4,000 units first week. And it is true that they do not get the same amount of marketing and promo that Megan gets from Rock Nation. But, and I wasn't even going to cover this in this video, but I do think that it's important since we're here so that I can show you why. So it says, this is Halle Bailey's album that just released, and it says, under Parkwood Entertainment LLC, under exclusive license to Columbia Records, a division of Sony Music Entertainment. So this says nothing about Rock Nation. So yes, she is signed to Beyonce, and you would probably hope to see more promotion for Chloe and Halle given their partnership with Parkwood, but they are signed to Columbia Records, right? So at the end of the day, their career is up to Columbia Records and Parkwood. It's more of a Beyonce responsibility than it is a Rock Nation responsibility. Now, I could ask a good question and say, why doesn't Beyonce's Parkwood give the same support that Rock Nation does to their artists? Now, Rock Nation is very much focused on the careers of other artists, whereas Parkwood is primarily focused on Beyonce. So I believe that there is a discussion to be had there, but just not so much in this video. But I wanted to point that out so that you guys are not going around the internet sounding crazy and uninformed. I just explained to you the distinction as to why Chloe and Halle might not get the same support that Megan Thee Stallion does. Rock Nation and Parkwood are two different companies. Yes, they are owned by a husband and wife, but there is nothing I know of that legally ties them together. And if you are signed to Parkwood, that doesn't mean that Rock Nation gets to market your music and for free, right? And if you are signed to Rock Nation, does that mean that Parkwood has to market your music and for free? Man, I think I'm teaching y'all something new. So if you haven't liked this video yet, what are you doing?
It's your girl Vina Love, the Harlem Princess, your favorite princess, and this is Destiny Below.
Period.